All right, time for our rants and raves of the week, starting with you, Dan.
I have a rave for ESPN, which is which has picked up Keith Olbermann off waivers and given him an 11 p.m. show on ESPN2. Olbermann has obviously had his ups and downs. He is reputed to be a notoriously difficult person to work with, but the guy is a huge talent. And if he is ready to start rebuilding his career and shows a little contrition, I wish him all the best. I think I'll be watching.
A leopard doesn't change its spot.
You seem skeptical, Emily.
ESPN, well, that's where he started. All right, John.
Yeah. Well, I want to do a rave and a shout-out for Newton homeboy Mark Leibovich, the national political reporter for the New York Times Magazine, who has a new book out called This Town, in which, I'm just starting to read it now, but in which he apparently expertly skewers the pompous windbags of Washington, D.C., of which there are an infinite amount, many of them in journalism. And I think that's a very useful and productive exercise. And what's the term, schadenfreude?
Schadenfreude.
I'm experiencing great schadenfreude over all the whining and moaning that's coming from these stuffed shirts already over the fact that someone dared to tell the truth about him, went to their parties, ate their canapes, and then turned around and told the truth.
Names?
Absolutely.
Can't wait to read that.
And a former Phoenix reporter,
John
too.
and I both worked with him. Great guy,
I know
great
him too.
reporter.
Yeah.
We're very proud.
All right, Callie.
Tamron Hall was, unfortunately for her, on the set doing, some of this wall-to-wall George Zimmerman trial coverage. And in the courtroom, they were showing to the jury, and as part of the testimony, the picture of Trayvon Martin moments after he was shot by George Zimmerman. You can all imagine, you don't have to see the photo to know how gruesome and graphic that was, and that went out over the airways. Now, it wasn't up long, but it went out over the airways is because they were not carefully monitoring what was coming up. And she was forced then to apologize on behalf of the network because she was the face sitting on the set. But it's just another speed kills. You didn't have to do that. You got monitors everywhere. Let's just monitor it over here. Stuff's coming up that ought not go out over the air. Let's be sensitive about that. If you want to see that, it'll be somewhere on the web for you to see it. But it should not have been broadcast.
You don't think so?
No, I do not.
I don't have a problem with it.
I do not think that I should be sitting at home and not be warned.
Well, warning is one
but
thing.
they couldn't warn.
Yeah.
They were just rolling with what was happening. So that's not appropriate. That's not, if the role of your being there is to do some editing for me, you didn't do it. I can turn on C-SPAN or whatever.
And you need a warning.
Yeah, come on.
All right, Vera.
The Washington Post, 10 years after the Iraq war, went back to look at what had become of their fixers, their translators, their Iraqi reporters, basically. And anybody who's ever covered a war zone knows those are the people that get you the news, that allow you to operate. They are often in terrible danger, and they're often forgotten. And so I loved the fact that the Post went back and wrote a fascinating story about what had become of their Iraqi colleagues.
How often are those some of the best stories you see, where a story is revisited later to lend historical context, perspective, and check and see how much of the original reporting has really held up? It's a staple of the business, but I think I would like to see more of it. It's always great.
All right, so I have this kind of rant and rave, and believe it or not, it involves CVS. So a lot of people were giving CVS very high marks for refusing to sell the edition of Rolling Stone with Johar Tsarnaev on the cover. Fine, give them the kudos there. But did you know, ladies and gentlemen, that you cannot buy a newspaper at any CVS pharmacy downtown Boston? Really? I went to buy one a couple of months ago. I said, oh, we don't sell them anymore. I said, really? I then came into the office the next day and called 10 CVS's in downtown. None of them sell newspapers anymore.
They've been banned.
Wow.
I take
obviously they
personal
don't
offense
sell.
at that.
I know. It's true, though. Walgreens does.
They do it in my CVS
They
in
do
Cambridge.
in Newton and Belmont and Cambridge, but they
do
don't
in Danvers.
They don't in Boston.
That is weird.
That is very interesting.
So good. That's the good news and the bad news about CVS. All right, that is it for Beat the Press. How did you react to the Rolling Stone cover? Did you find the George Zimmerman coverage one-sided? Sound off on our website, beatthepress.org. Monday on Greater Boston, 30 years after he was sexually abused at Deerfield Academy, Whit Shepard comes forward in Sunday's Boston Globe magazine. We have his story. And mobster Stephen Flemmi continues his jarring testimony in the Whitey Bulger case. That and more Monday in Greater Boston. For all of us, I'm Emily Rooney. Thanks for watching.